Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Rios, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. Excuse me. Tonight's episode is going to be another hot takes episode. So, if you've watched or listened to any of our other ones, you know the drill. If this is your first time, I'll give you the quickest of rundowns. We've got a couple topics on our wheel of mystery over here. Um, these topics consist of, as the name implies, gaming hot takes. We're going to spin the reel. We're going to get a random topic, and we're going to discuss how we feel about it. Do we agree it's a hot take, mid take, the right take, or anything in between? So, simple, quick, easy to understand. And with that quick intro being said, I will now pass it off to our wheel spinners for our first hot takes topic.
Brought to you by Tyson. Be sure to eat your chicken. Pick protein with a flavor.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, look at that, man. Hashtag definitely not sponsored, but you know.
It's all the thing and a good thing. All right, we're spinning.
The lag.
Yeah, a little laggy wheel.
Reduce your seizures. Anyway, loot boxes are gambling and should be banned. 110% agree. Fuck loot boxes. That shit is just gambling. I agree 100%. I don't even. We could go into detail, but like, I hate all forms of gambling. Personally, I'm not a gambler at all. But I'll chime in.
Yeah, I mean, loot boxes are pretty trash. As a guy who probably spent way too much money that didn't need to be spent on Overwatch loot boxes when he was deep into Overwatch, they suck because it's random. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten skins for characters I didn't give a shit about. If we have to have a monetization method in a free-to-play game, for example, I am more open to the direct purchase avenue. So if you want to buy a skin, the skin is $15. That's up to you whether the price is justified or not. But I'd rather do that. You get the skin for the character you care about instead of spending $40 on a 12 pack of loot boxes and you get nothing for the character or every skin but the skin you want. So yeah, loot boxes are trash. And funny enough, we see them less and less now in modern gaming. So small victories, I suppose.
Yeah, I in that vein, I would have to agree in terms of like loot boxes, especially from a financial perspective. They definitely should be banned because I think it takes away the overall essence of the game, right? I feel as though uh, all components pertaining to the gameplay aspect should be available to everyone, to kind of maintain the balance. So if there's a certain gun that is accessible to you, your opponent should have that same gun, the attachments, so on and so forth. Just to maintain, in my opinion, that stability when it comes to playing these games. And especially if you're paying for a loot box or a potential loot box, it becomes frustrating spending your money, your hard-earned money, and not being able to acquire said item that you want. So I agree with you, Gunna, in terms of like the direct-to-purchase type of deal. Now, if it were, I guess it would be maybe a tad bit more acceptable if like, what would you say, gents, if loot boxes were like free? Um, because I believe they are free in some games, correct? Like there are certain loot boxes that are available in
Some games
for
have
free.
like you earn loot boxes if you play a certain number of hours and whatnot. It's a thing, yeah.
Okay, and what about would you guys still object to loot boxes only being a cosmetic thing? Like if they were free and just cosmetic?
No, me personally, as a person who cares about cosmetics, probably more so than the average gamer, I'd rather do the direct to purchase because if I only care about one character, um, you'll get more potential money out of me if you just make it a direct buy because every time a new skin or a new emo comes out for that particular character, if I can directly purchase that, I'd rather do that than roll the dice with loot boxes. Because if I get a bad set of loot boxes, that might make me quit your game entirely.
Gotcha. That makes sense. What say you, Wolf? Because you didn't get to chime in. I was asking so many questions.
I do agree that loot boxes isn't more toxic than necessarily helpful. But what is it? My understanding of a loot box in video games is a random device that happens, whether, at some point in the game that determines or will determine what kind of prizes you get. So are we talking about that kind of loot box, or are we talking about the kind of loot box where you pay money for a role and you don't have any control of what you get? Because I've seen both sides. One, to me, is not that bad. If you play the game and you get the random loots from a loot box, then that's just the way that works. Like, for example, when I played Xenoblade 2 is the game that did it. So Xenoblade 2 had loot boxes. That's what they were, where you would get these core crystals. And when you open the core crystals, from whether you find them in the world or you win them in whatever prizes or battle that you've done, the summons that you get were the blades, that's what they were called, that you get were random. Now, you can be someone like me who farmed them to try to get all the rare and uncommon ones, or you can be someone who just didn't care and just wanted to play the story and just dealt with whatever blades that came out of those loot boxes. But there was no monetary or financial obligation to getting them. You just simply played the game and you would get them. That's one example of a loot box, which I didn't find to be an issue at all. But then you have like there was one Call of Duty where you buy the loot boxes, you literally spend the money on the loot boxes, and you wasn't really sure what items you get. So one side of loot boxes I'm okay with if video games did it. It doesn't bother me because that means that I can continue to play the game and I'll get more loot. It's inevitable. I just have to put time into the game. The monetary one, I think, is very predatory and pretty toxic for the community, for the gaming space, actually. So I don't know if you guys are talking about loot box as a whole or just the monetary obligation one
I think
that we have issues with.
I think they're both of the same entity, just with different stipulations. Like as the loot boxing that you referred to, where it's more on the positive end. In my opinion, I look at it as no different than grinding in an RPG a set monster for the rarest item. But much like to what you also suggested with like Call of Duty and whatnot, I'm guessing this is what they're referring to in terms of like the monetary expectancy and having to pay your way into acquiring certain items. I think based on this take, I think that's what they're mostly referring to. It doesn't really state it. That's why I kind of asked the questions like, okay, would you guys be more inclined to accepting loot boxes if they were free versus like if they cost money? And would they be more accepting towards like solo players or solo games as opposed to like multiplayer games? Because competitive games, I feel as though you should have access to everything that your opponent has access to and be able to like customize it to in your own way or whatever.
So
Yeah.
I don't feel like in competitive games you should have everything. You should have the ability to have access to everything that someone else has access to.
Yeah, that's
But it
yes.
doesn't necessarily mean that you should be rewarded what everyone else is being rewarded as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're
Like,
saying.
okay, like that's the point of it being competitive. The point of it being competitive is that there's this gap between you and I, and you as the opposing person, your challenge will be to close that gap to where you can win, or I, as the opposing person, maintain that gap so that I stay in advantage. Paying for that gap is very toxic. It's very wrong. It's to me, it's like, okay, well, you're taking away the effort that you should be putting into playing the video game. But if say in Overwatch, okay, let's like say even though this game doesn't do that, which I wish it did, in Marvel Rivals, say at the end of every 10-minute match you do in Marvel Rivals, you get a loot box. And in that loot box, you have a chance of getting whatever it is. Like, I don't know, say, I don't know, 10% more damage to whatever character you want to use, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, there's no such thing as that in Marvel Rivals. I'm just using this as an example. That came from really just the luck of the draw, but also came from the numbers you put into playing the game. What I mean is, you played more games than maybe someone who doesn't have it. Now, is there a realm of possibility where a person, typically like you, who can only play one game and get the best of everything? Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if you said to me, "Oh, we played this, hero shooter, and the loot box came, and I got the best weapon in the game on my first game." Coming from
I
you,
don't like your
wouldn't be
tone. I
surprised.
don't like your tone, sir. I don't know what you're talking about. This is false. This is fake news. Fake news. I don't know what you're
I
talking
wouldn't be
about.
surprised, right? But my luck would be I'd have to put in
Just
30,
quickly, real
40,
quickly,
50
don't
games.
forget, guys, check out the link for the Dunkin' Midnight Dark Roast Coffee. K-cups available. Go ahead.
Um, so what I'm saying is that another person can put in maybe like 30, 50 games, but that other person who's putting in that many games will still be a better player than the person who has only put in one game, even if that player got, I don't know, whatever crazy stat weapon or whatever it is that the game has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like in competitiveness, yes, it should be designed to where anybody can get anything because we're all playing the same game. But at the same time, they should also be there's this difference within the player base where you can see the skill, the potential, the effort that every player is putting in and how they got it.
So
Now, if
pretty
you're
much
paying
something
for
to
it,
aspire to, basically.
yeah, something to aspire to. Like I was playing Marvel Rivals the other day, and this guy was using Iron Man, and it had this like silver skin um that Iron Man has. And I was like, okay, that looks pretty cool, but it's not what it's not a skin that I would use for Iron Man. And I realized that it's because the game right now is giving away a token for free, and you can pick a skin from a character.
Mm.
Now, when I went into to that part of the game where you can redeem your token, the only skin that they have for Iron Man is that silver skin. They didn't give him his Infinity War skin because obviously the developers know that's the skin that people is going to want. That's the skin that they're going to charge people for. Um, but I say that is that if I wanted that skin from Iron Man, then I would have done the little challenges that would reward me the token so that I can redeem it, and that's available to everyone, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is going to really aspire to it. The same guy can get that token and redeem it for a Spider-Man skin, or another guy can redeem it for I don't know, a Mr. Fantastic skin. But the whole point is it's available to everyone. It's
Mm-hmm.
just some is going to put in effort to get it, and some is not going to put any effort to get it. And I think that's fine. Just the fact that they're charging you $30 for a skin that you choose to buy out of cash, to me, fuck no. Yeah. So I think it's just based on how the loot box is designed in the game, where it can be an okay thing because it creates replayability, or it can be a really bad thing and take away the fun or the spirit of the game, like what happened with Gunner and
More often than not,
Overwatch.
it
Yeah,
is a thing about creating opportunities to make more money, and that $30 skin, instead of it being a $30 skin, could be a $200 skin because you kept rolling for it. That's my problem
correct.
with loot boxes. So fuck loot
Correct.
boxes; they could go to hell. If you want to put them in the game for free, just to have a random element to acquire items or whatever, that's one thing.
Hmm.
But if it's monetary, I'm absolutely against it 100%. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I've been burned way too many times by them.
All right, we got the spin, boys.
I
Hmm.
Yes,
am good to
sir.
spin.
Before we spin, save up to 30% on everything for college life, only on Amazon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and back to school for some people listening.
I don't even know what that is. It's been mad years since I've been back to school.
Well, Bezos has got your money anyway, because I'm sure you use Amazon for something.
Oh, true. Good point.
Being casual, whoa, it's music. Okay, all right.
Wow.
All right. Being casual doesn't mean you're uninformed. I think
What?
I agree. Being casual doesn't mean you're
Hmm.
uninformed. Being basically like you could be a casual gamer and be well versed in like the meta game of a certain game, or be aware of like uh more than surface level attributes to a game. That's how I'm taking it. Like just because you're a casual player, just because you don't play 10 hours a day, doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. I agree with that. Just like how I play Street Fighter. I'm not a professional in Street Fighter. I understand the frames and I understand who's a good character and matchups and all that other stuff. But I just play Street Fighter because I like Street Fighter and I'm not trying to win an Evo tournament.
Yeah. I would
I
have.
think that's the correlation, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Yeah, just because you don't play
Yeah.
on a pro level doesn't mean you don't know what's
Mhm.
going on or you can't appreciate pro level play gameplay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know. I absolutely agree with the take. You don't have to be a pro to understand how certain games work, how certain mechanics work. Nowadays, everything is at your disposal to read, watch, um, listen to other creators' takes on their perspective of said character or said game or said strategy and so on and so forth. So you can be, as Kong said, well versed in that aspect and collect an archive of information on games that you don't play as excessively as the people that you're watching or the materials that you're reading from the person that has been playing excessively. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that take. There's a lot of games that I watch that I know a lot of information on, but I've never played it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like another take from this could be in informed. See the when I saw this, it was more like informed on the gaming space as a whole. Uh, like even though you're casual and you're not really invested in kind of like gaming politics, you could still be informed about what's going on with particular games. Like why is the sequel shaped like this? Um like what are the goings on around a particular game, but you're casual. Like you're just gonna you just play games, but you're informed on, I guess, the gaming sphere as a whole, like the goings on with it, like what's going on with development teams, what's going on with publisher, like why is Ubisoft on everybody's shit list this week. That's how I took it, but it could also
Okay.
mean being informed but still being casual in kind of like a competitive sphere, sorry, or even if it's a single player game, you're casual but you know why this great sword is better than this great sword in a Souls game, for example.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of like Monster Hunter. Like you see the speedrunners who are like killing it. They know exactly the positioning of the monster. They know like the armor and weapons to kind of like boost their time and whatnot. But like that I understand. But I guess like from their perspective, I'm probably a casual because I'm not a speedrunner. I'm not using the most viable equipment to subdue a monster immediately. I'm using like what best works for me and my play style and so on. Some may say that I'm not technically a casual, but in the eyes of like the people within the speed running community, they'll say, yeah, he's a casual because he's not utilizing.
Well, there's a hierarchy, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's various levels of casual. I was
Mhm.
gonna say, like,
True.
most who are uninformed are probably casual. Like, if you reversed it, like, if you're uninformed, you're probably casual. Like, an uninformed hardcore player, I don't think that sounds like an oxymoron to me,
Yeah.
right? So
True.
I could see why someone would hold that opinion. Where it's like, if you're casual, you're probably uninformed, which I think, and maybe in most cases, is probably true.
Could be a
But
lot, yeah.
but it's not a 1-to-1, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so okay, let's move on. Remember, guys, lasting sweat protection, 24/7 Old Spice.
Yes.
I am a
was gonna say
consumer. I am a
I was gonna
consumer of
say
the Old
something,
Spice.
but it's not applicable to what we're doing right now. But it's magic. I'll leave it at that. It's magic.
Deodorant can be magic in certain circles.
Oh, you mean conventions?
You said it, not me. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's terrible.
Anyway. Oh God.
Your eyes.
Okay,
Oh, the casuals came back. They heard us.
let's re-roll that. Run that back. The indie scene has more cultural value than the AAA scene.
Hell yeah. I think so.
I mean, yes, in the modern day, I would say yes. That's like fairly undisputed. But the indie scene came for what once was the AAA scene. So I'm kind of conflicted because what's
Mhm.
indie today was AAA 25 years ago, 30 years ago. So, you know, but yeah, I would agree. The indie scene in modern day, I think that's where they're going. Has more culture, of course,
Well,
than the AAA.
well, question: wasn't the AAA term coined during like the PS3, Xbox 360 era, and
I don't know for sure, but I would say I guess you could. There might be an argument for PS2 era AAA titles, because AAA really is about budgeting, right?
okay,
It really boils down to, like, how big is the budget, how big are the sales expectations for this particular title, how much money can we make, right?
okay,
I think it might have started in the PS2 era. If you dig deep enough in GameFAQs forums and stuff, you might find that terminology. But I think it probably gained a lot of steam in the PS3 era.
I would say so. Yeah,
yeah,
because I heard that word kind of, or that terminology kind of thrown around when Last of Us came out, and that was PlayStation 3.
yeah,
Well, that was the tail end of PS3, but
Tail, yeah.
I feel like I started hearing it sometime in the 360 PS3 era, like,
Metal Gear Solid 4
Halo's a
for me and
AAA
stuff.
game. Metal Gear Solid 4 is a AAA game. Like, it's like these are the best of the best. AAA at its core means budgetary and, like, high sales expectations, but for, like, the consumer end of it, it meant something of extreme high quality. Like, you're not going to get this kind of experience anywhere else. And that definition I think has been consistent with people's perception. When you hear AAA, you think, okay, this is the best of the best. This is top shelf stuff.
Hmm.
But depending on who you ask, that moniker has definitely faded away since then. I would say since the dawn of the PS4 era, 2013 or so. Like, AAA has been kind of like underwhelming since then. Maybe even before that in the PS3 era. Um, so I don't know. Kind of depends on who you talk to and, like, how much they know and how old they are and how long
Yeah.
they've been in the hobby. So
I mean, definitely the indie scene nowadays is way more impactful on the culture as a whole, because indie games combined with modern social media culture can skyrocket your game. Like we've seen games like Schedule One and Repo and the games of that ilk become super big due to social media,
Company,
Lethal
Power
Company,
World,
yeah,
etc. Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and a lot of influencers
Expedition
in those
33.
regards. Right, yeah, Expedition 33 is another big one.
Well, that's not an indie game, right? Like that's like double A. That still has a high budget, big studio. Indie is like indie just stands for independent. So
Yeah,
independent just means like either one person or like a very small team.
I
Okay, yeah,
thought
so
I
we want
thought.
to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Huh?
Gunnar.
No, no. So if we remove that caveat, then definitely be games like Repo, Schedule One,
Yeah,
guys that are
100%.
in like one guy or two guys or like maybe five at most.
Okay, I thought
But
Expedition 33, the team that did that. I thought it was a small
they
team.
they're
Small
small, but
compared to AAA teams, sure.
yeah, but they
Gotcha,
also are
gotcha. Okay,
ex Ubisoft devs. So these aren't like they've been around the digital block of a game, so to speak.
I mean that's fine, but like okay, let's say here's an example like Inafune when he created Mega Man versus like him doing his own thing with Mighty Number Nine. Like, didn't he kind of transition from, I guess you would constitute it as a AAA title at its time, to like his own indie team because it
I
was.
wouldn't say I wouldn't classify him as an indie developer at that point. I would still classify him as like a single A or double A developer
Okay,
because he's still working with a huge budget. It's again, it goes back to budgeting and like sales
okay,
expectations.
okay, okay, that makes sense. I'm not too versed in the numbers of like the budget for Mighty Number Nine. So I figured it
I
was
don't
like.
remember. I know that the Kickstarter was huge. Like he got he hit a lot of stretch goals. So I mean, he had I want to say a few million banked for that entire IP, which he pissed away. But I at that point in time, this is like 2010, right? When he left Capcom, or when he left Capcom, when he left and like created Concept. That was I want to say 09, 2010
I
into
believe
2011, something
so.
like that, somewhere around there, early 2010s. Yeah, at that point, I wouldn't consider him a AAA for sure, but I wouldn't consider him indie either. Somewhere in the middle, which would be double A.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I can see that.
All right, so we're good to spin again, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the Barnes firm, 800, 800, 0000 if you're injured. There's your sponsor for the spin. It's a weird number. Anyway,
Easy to remember.
I guess. Okay.
That's gonna get me every time.
Spin is going to kill me every time.
I think there's an option to hide the choice, if I'm not mistaken.
Paid cosmetics still influence player behavior.
What does that mean?
So I'm perceiving this like there's like a FOMO attached to paid cosmetics. So like if I have the latest skin, I'm cooler than you. And so I get to bully you or make fun of you for not being a consumer,
Okay,
I
I
guess.
get it now.
That's how I'm taking it. Let me know if I'm wrong or if you guys are perceiving it otherwise. But yeah, I would say paid cosmetics do influence player behavior. I think if there is any kind of hierarchy of status in any type of human interaction, whether it be a video game or real life or place or relationships or school or whatever, I think if there is any type of status symbol, whether it be a skin, a cool pencil, uh, whatever, anything that you could show off, any kind of like physical thing, it can and will affect how people treat other people. So I would agree that it does influence player behavior.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Um,
Oh,
I
go
can't.
ahead, Wolf. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's another one I can't disagree with because yeah, it's a thing where like I played MMOs, specifically Final Fantasy, and um, there were plenty of times where I've seen people walk around with a certain armor design or weapon design, especially if they were dragon class. And I as the player would wonder, well, how the heck did I get that? And then once I figure out how to get it, I would design my next mission to be getting that armor piece if it's not something you can buy from the online shop. Which did affect my behavior within the game. Instead of doing like big raid boss battles, I'm trying to, I'm doing whatever these little side quests are to get that armor piece that I want to help design the character the way I want him to or her to look. So I've been in that role before. So yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm definitely susceptible to that. I have run stuff in video games that are, in terms of making myself stronger, are absolutely worthless, but in terms of making myself look good, um, are worth it to me. And I have been a little bit susceptible when it comes to kind of like cosmetics in the paid sphere. You talk about Final Fantasy. I used to buy a bunch of cosmetics from the
Mm-hmm.
cosmetic outfits and whatnot from the
Mm-hmm.
Mog Station, which is their paid store, and and mounts as well. So like that would definitely influence my behavior. And just like you, I would do a dungeon with a random person, and I would see their glamour. I'm like, oh shit, how did they get that? And
Mm-hmm.
I would do things to try to acquire that had nothing to do with building my character's power in any meaningful way. So I get that.
Yeah, I can also see that as well. Playing for the brief time that I did Final Fantasy 14, players who had certain armors that were paid, they definitely had a particular strut about them. Like you'll just see them running around different groups, doing different poses and stuff like that, and like just putting themselves out there. They weren't trying to essentially join a team to do a dungeon or whatever, or like do a raid, or they weren't trying to be helpful in any regard. It was more so like, yeah, check out me, bitch. I'm wearing this new armor that I paid for, or I have this new mount. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like, you go to a club or something, or some type of gathering, and
Social
then you
gathering.
yeah, some type of social gathering, and you see somebody that's wearing like this expensive looking outfit or whatever, and it's like they kind of conduct themselves a bit differently from people who I guess they would consider is wearing less than. So I think that um, kind of correlates to like paid cosmetics in video games as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like real life, where like people will. I mean, we all dealt with this, and I think anybody listening to this can relate to what I'm about to say to some degree, where you get made fun of for like the clothes you're wearing. If you're not wearing name brand clothing, or if you're wearing, if you this is one that I remember, like if you wear the same thing on back to back days, it's like, whoa, you're fucking poor. So like
Hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
that's how people operate. Like everything is a hierarchy. No matter, there's no real getting away from that. And a lot of people will resort to putting you down in order to bring themselves up, because that's like the low hanging fruit strategy for like self esteem boosting.
Hmm.
It's just so easy to do. So it's like, so yeah, I've seen it happen in video games 100%. I'm not susceptible to it. I can easily just kind of breeze past
Yeah.
the paid cosmetic screen for me personally. If somebody tries to like shame me for not spending more money on like digital clothing, it's very easy for me to counter that rhetoric. It's like, you're not a better like, I remember this even was a thing with trading cards. Like I remember, if you rared out your deck and you had like the highest rarity of every card in your deck, some people thought they were better players because of that, which is asinine to
What?
me. It's like, well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
that
thing.
was the
It's like,
thing. Yeah.
but again, that's
Mm-hmm.
cosmetics affecting your behavior. You think you're
Mm-hmm.
better because you spent more money on this deck, and it's like, well, yeah, my deck is filled with common cards, but like our decks are the same in essence, and I just beat you. So like, who's better really? Um, So it's just weird to me. It never really made sense, but I understand it's a common thing. So, I'm aware of it, so I could speak to it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
All right. Beach nut, lunchbox faves, Odie bites, only at Walmart.
Never heard of that.
Me neither. Beach nuts.
I'm running right out.
The Barnes firm is back. All right. Spin the wheel. Oh, can't look directly at it. Get a headache. Game trailers should be banned from using CGI only.
No.
So computer generated graphics are not allowed to be used in trailers?
That
Video
sounds
games
ridiculous.
are computer generated graphics.
I think what they're referring to is that like
Cutscenes.
cutscenes and things like that, not gameplay or
Actual
whatever.
gameplay.
Game trailers shouldn't be cinematic. Is kind of
Right.
what they're going for.
Right.
Okay.
It
Yeah, I
shouldn't-
think
it
that's
shouldn't-
what they mean.
Yeah, it should be just gameplay.
They should. I disagree. I don't think that cinematic trailers should be banned. I think a cinematic trailer can be effective to set the tone for whatever story the game is trying to tell, which I think is important to a lot of people. And it can be important to me depending on the game. So I get it. However, I would like to see gameplay be a required piece of advertisement for whenever you advertise a game. So if you're going to have a cinematic trailer, I would like to see where the gameplay is. Like for every cinematic trailer, I would like to get a 5 to 10 minute gameplay demo of the game at its current build. That's what I would want. I don't think banning cinematic trailers, I don't think that's necessary. I think it has a place. I think I'm fine with it. But when I don't see gameplay at all is my problem. So if they can meet me in the middle and have a little bit of both, then I think I'm okay with cinematic trailers because a lot of people enjoy those. And I enjoy going back to cinematic trailers of the past and just kind of watching it. I am an American today. I did grow up in the 90s, so consumerism is a big part of my personality, unfortunately. And so advertising is something I enjoy, for better or for worse. So I'm going to disagree with this, which might be unexpected, but I disagrry. Those are the reasons why.
No. That makes a lot of sense. I'm here putting my 2 thumbs up like an idiot. I'm pretty much in that same vein. I don't think that they should be banned, but I think that there should be a percentage allowed when it comes to trailers. Like maybe 20% CGI, 80% gameplay. Because at the end of the day, the essence of a video game, to me, is the gameplay. That's the reason why I'm purchasing the game. That's the priority that I'm doing. Like if I want CGI only, I'll go watch a movie or whatnot. Now where my point deviates is unless it's a game kind of like Detroit Become Human, where primarily everything is CGI. You're just pretty much tapping buttons. You're doing a little bit of movement here and there, so on and so forth, to kind of navigate the characters. But it is more of a narrative interactive game than the other genres. So basically what I'm trying to convey is that there's no reason why I should be seeing more cutscenes of an action adventure game as opposed to like something that's story driven like Detroit Become Human. To me that doesn't make any sense.
The cutscenes allows the company to advertise what they're bringing to the market and to inform you. The gameplay, I feel, it should be the other way around. I do agree that gameplay should be in the trailer, but for me, I think it should be 20% gameplay, 80% cinematics, because what the cinematics allows you to get, allows them to be able to push the product to the consumers to in an easier fashion so that they can focus on the gameplay. Because what you don't want is really to give away too much of anything, right? Because once we see too much of the gameplay, we'll get the idea of what kind of game it is. It's not going to really intrigue us. After we get an idea of what it is, it's like, oh, okay, it's another, I don't know, God of War type game. I'm not going to play this. It's another Souls game. I'm not going to play this. Or it could be the other way around. Where it's like, oh my gosh, it looks like it's really a Souls like game, so I really want to jump into this. But I think with the cinematics and the 20% gameplay, it leaves a little more curiosity and interest for us to want to follow the game as they develop it and as they bring more information out on it. If you do 80% gameplay, you pretty much put everything on the table in one shot. We now know what it is, and from there you can make your judgment call off the spot. Whereas the cinematics, it's more like that commercial that draws you in, like how good movie commercials used to be, not just tell you what the whole fucking movie was. So now you don't have to go to the theater because after watching one, I don't know, current movie trailer, now you know what the whole movie is. Like they in the past, the trailers wouldn't exactly show you all the important scenes that made the movie the movie. It showed you just enough for you to be interested in it. And that's why I think the cinematics is in the trailer aspect, the cinematics is more important than necessarily showing off the gameplay, but the gameplay needs to be there because you want your consumers to understand what kind of game they're going to be playing. Does that making sense?
I
Especially if it's a story-based game.
no,
A fighting game,
mhm.
like a fighting game, for example, it's the opposite. A fighting game, because fighting games don't typically ever have like elaborate cutscenes or anything like that, unless it's Tekken. And look at how Tekken does their commercial. When I watch a Tekken trailer, I get excited as hell. And Tekken barely ever shows any gameplay in their trailers. Barely. But I think they do it right. They know how to market the game to where it's a fighting game. It is a story driven fighting game. They are using cinematics, but they show just enough gameplay for you to see okay, they still have the bouncing mechanic, they still in a 3D space, they still have, lightning fists, all that other stuff. But at the same time, the way that the trailer is done cinematically, it pulls you in, it draws you in like, oh my gosh, Jin, he unlocked not Devil Trigger, Devil Mode level 7 this time around, or Kazuya got his Devil Mode back, or oh Heihachi came back to life. So it draws in a certain amount of audience to say, okay, well, I want to be more intrigued. Um, but then it's like if you give all the gameplay at that point, you're telling me everything I need to know, and then from there you're telling me I don't need to play this game. Or that's just me thinking negatively. In a positive aspect, it's like, okay, well, um, let's go to the blood bank and sell some blood because I need this $80 to buy this new game. It's I feel like the cinematics just leaves a good amount of curiosity
I,
within it. So more cinematics, less gameplay when it comes to the trailer, especially if it's the first or second trailer of the game being released or of them announcing the game.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get what you're saying. I would be more inclined to like agree, however, if this current like stage of gaming isn't a bunch of people wanting to know everything about said game. Like if you look at the social media, if you look at like everything about the game is like pretty much pushed, or what people would tend to do is like they would wait until the game comes out and see if people review it or watch the game in its entirety before determining whether or not they decide to buy it. And Tekken, which they do it really well, I do agree with you. Like they'll have one trailer with like a bunch of cutscenes and like in between, it'll be some gameplay. But then the remaining trailers are all their characters being introduced and some of the different combos that they're doing in said trailers. So they'll give you like, oh, Tekken's coming out, which by the way, at this moment everybody already knows what Tekken is. So it's like it's only a matter of time of okay, we know what most of the characters can do. We just need to know what the new mechanics are and what are the new characters coming out. So what they do is they'll have the trailer with the story, with snippets of the story, gameplay, and then everything else that comes after is, oh, new challenger, and then they have like a bunch of combo sequences for that character. So I would say that they put more gameplay than trailers in their cutscenes, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I think they put a way more cinematic than they do gameplay. Um, but what's my point to follow that? There was a point that I wanted to follow up with that, but it'll come back to me as it goes on. I know Kang hasn't put in any his. I don't think he.
Well, I said some stuff in the beginning. The
Oh,
only
okay.
thing I'll add is I think the desire to want less cinematics comes from a place of like short-sightedness. I think that's saying I don't want cinematic trailers comes from a place of disappointment. A lot of people have seen cinematic trailers and then they play the game and then it did not meet expectations. And
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
you to
that's been
come
a
to
very
that,
good, yeah.
for you to come to like that conclusion of like, well, cinematic trailers shouldn't be a thing, is the same as like, well, I don't expect the salesman to sell me anything. I want you to tell me all of the negative deals of this insurance plan before I sign up for it. That's not realistic. Like if you're signing up
Mm-hmm.
for insurance, car insurance, health insurance, whatever, um, the salesperson or the representative is his job or her job is to sell you on the service, not to tell you everything you need to know, good and bad, about whatever the service is. So a trailer is designed to excite you and to get you to sign up for whatever it is that they're selling you. And so if they're honest with everything that the game has to offer, they run the risk of disappointing people before they even make a purchase, which is not good for business. So it's just an unrealistic take. It'll never happen. This is like people who think, oh, I, certain amenities should just be free. I should just be able to enter a hospital and just get free healthcare. It's like it's not how things work. So, I feel like people they just think in a very simple surface level world, and that's not the world we live in. So, I think it's just unrealistic. I think it's silly, and I think people who have these kinds of takes really need to spend more time thinking about these thoughts and like wrestle with them a little more, because I think once they do that, they'll come to a more sensible conclusion and they'll be more accepting of like reality and like just how things work, and they'll be able to navigate the world better and be disappointed less and make better financial decisions and not buy the fresh new hot game because the trailer was sick. It's like, okay, well, they'll have the foresight to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't buy it right away. Maybe I should just wait for reviews. Maybe I should do more research. Like these people who complain about these things don't do these things. They just consume without any research. And the first few times, okay, I get it, but like after a while, it's like, all right, brother, like you're not paying attention. Like
Yeah, you're not
you've been
paying. Yeah.
scammed a few times already. Like you need to open your eyes. You need to smell the coffee. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if you
The-
have anything else to add, guys. Go ahead.
I would just wrap up my thought is that yeah, I don't agree with banning CGI trailers. I think they build hype for the product, which is the whole point of it. If you have one moment to stand out in a crowd, you're gonna do that with a CGI trailer because nine times out of 10 you might not have actual gameplay to show yet because you're trying to get the concept and you're trying to get people on board with your product. So I think CGI
Mm-hmm.
is fine, but I think there's a threshold point where you have to show some substantiative gameplay, and it has to be real gameplay because we've even seen gameplay segments, Division, um, Watch Dogs, where they've touted that as real gameplay, and then we've either those gameplay segments never showed up in the main game or things were heavily changed. So it's good to start off with the CGI to build up hype, but after a certain point, give us gameplay and give us as close to what is the true gameplay as possible. Um, and if you're the customer, don't pre-order a game after you see the CGI trailer. I know they do it. They always throw it pre-orders now. Oh, don't do it. Don't pre-order games. Stop. Stop that, please. Yeah, that's my final point. Like, God bless.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I see what you guys
Wolf,
are saying.
did that thought come back to you, or?
No, it really didn't. It's probably going to come back after the podcast, and that's okay.
It's one of the debuffs of being old. So.
Yep.
Alrighty, let's take a spin.
Yeah, we got room for one more.
Regard? Hytrilo? That's got to be like a pharmaceutical drug. Anyway,
Was that did it say Viagra? Anyway,
I don't know.
Not that old.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Shit, still got a little time. All right, let's do one more. Please don't be a repeat.
You should play Lotto, man. You manifesting.
Yeah, I want to get the opposite numbers.
Reverse manifesting.
Ticket every time. Yeah, right. Aesthetics matter.
Ooh.
Ugly consoles feel worse to use. I think aesthetics do matter. I don't know if ugly consoles feel worse to use because it's ugly. They're ugly to look at. I'm looking at PS5, but I don't know if it hinders my experience with the actual interface or the video games or anything like that. So I agree with half of the statement. I think aesthetics do matter, but I don't know about ugly consoles feel worse to use. I don't know if I agree with that. But what do you guys say?
I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, the man's in the room with me right now too. PS5 base model. That's what I'm working with. Shit is ugly as sin. I almost fucking shoulder check this thing every time I exit and enter my room, but it doesn't stop me from using the PlayStation 5, and it doesn't stop me from thinking it's an okay console, and I do enjoy turning it on and playing it. I mean, if we want to go back in time and talk about the Virtual Boy, something like that, like would that be considered ugly? And like, was it painful to use in terms of getting headaches? Is that me reaching? I don't know, but
I think that is reaching. I think it's like the idea behind this statement is the console being unattractive, whatever that means. Well, I kind of do know what that means. It means just ridiculous, right? Like the original Xbox One is an ugly console, like the giant VCR box. It's like, what is that, bro? It being ugly or unappealing hinders the experience with the console. That's the part I disagree with, and that's what I think they're going with.
Yeah, that's what I also gathered from this take. Personally, I disagree with it unless they're speaking with like handhelds, right? Because if the handhelds are like ugly from like a shape way, a shape type of perspective, then I think that can actually hinder your experience playing games. Like because you're actually holding the console within your hand. Like if you're talking about like regular consoles that just sit on the shelves and you're just playing that, that has no hindrance to your experience. Because I mean, Nintendo has made some, in my opinion, really ugly systems, and the experience has always been pretty good. Now, if you're talking about like maybe their handheld, like the what was it, the Game Boy Micro, to me that looked kind of ugly, and I think the experience was just as bad because it was exceptionally tiny and it was really hard for me to like really kind of utilize the controls properly because of how small it was. So I think in that token, it's I would agree with the take, but in my overall experience, I disagree with the take.
I disagree with the take overall. I don't necessarily feel like the aesthetic really matters that much. I'm a simpler man. As long as it's functioning, like I'm more concerned about it being a functional system or a functional mechanic than necessarily how it looks. Um, but that's always been who I am when it comes to certain things. Um, like I like for me, it's just like, okay, well, you are gonna exist in my space, but the reason why I bought you is for a specific function. If I'm buying something for the looks of it, then yes, it has to be aesthetically pleasing. But I don't buy consoles for the look. I do agree with esoteric in the sense of where, like, if it's a handheld or a controller, it should be comfortable. So the aesthetics of it can manipulate how comfortable the controller feels. I feel the DualShock controllers for the PlayStation 4 or and 3 is far more comfortable than the PlayStation 5 controller. Um,
Yeah.
and I have relatively normal sized hands. So, and it's because they are going for this, unique boomerang aesthetic for the controller, but I don't really like it. I like the older ones. I felt they were better. So that's one example of mm, the way that it looks is affecting the comfort, but I don't think it performs any weaker than a DualShock PS4 or PS3 controller. It functions, it's working. I can push buttons and things are happening. So I, for me, the aesthetics is not that serious. The PS5 is if I had to put an opinion, it is an ugly console. Um, but it's never past. I only see how ugly it really is when it's pointed out to me. I never like go into my room and I look at it and it's like this ugly piece of shit. Like I've never done that. But because you guys mention it and I'm looking at it right now and I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty fucking ugly console. It is, but like other than that, that's the only time it ever comes to mind. So for me, if the console looks, I don't know, like some weird alien spaceship, from Mars, or it looks like some sleek futuristic design, my biggest question will always be one, is it functioning? And two, does it function with what I'm looking for it to function as in the end of the day?
Got you. So quick question for you gents. Have you guys? I mean, we all are owners of multiple consoles here. Have Have you ever been deterred by the looks of your console? Like, for example, like let's say you're looking at the PlayStation 5, but you're like, oh my god, this shit is so ugly. Let me play something that looks more appealing, and it kind of like basically deters you from playing the console. Like, okay, the PS5 is so ugly that you'd rather play the Series X because
The
it's
answer is yes.
okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
For me, it's yes. Like I literally, I remember seeing the PS5 reveal, and I remember just being confused and like I thought it was a joke. I was like, that can't be the thing. It doesn't make any sense, and it turned out to be real. Um, I wasn't sold on next gen at the time, and then they showed the Xbox Series X, and I was like, well, that's a much nicer look. I mean, it's still silly. It looks like a little fridge, but doesn't look like that thing. It doesn't look like Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh. So there's that. And I ended up getting an Xbox first. And a part of the reason why I got it is because the appeal. I knew that the consoles from a power standpoint was more or less the same. The exclusives on PlayStation 5 weren't anything I felt like I needed to play,
Okay.
or a lot of them were on PS4. So it was like, well, don't really need a PS5 for that. I only got a PS5 because of Monster Hunter. I knew Monster Hunter was coming, and so I knew playing on console would be the way to go. And I wasn't sure if crossplay was going to be a thing, so I said, okay, well, most of my friends are going to be on PS5. I'll get a PS5 just for that game and the few other, exclusives that were on PS5, like Stellar Blade, for example. That's one that I was looking at for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But if none of those things existed, or if I knew Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be, I
What
would
it
have
turned out to be. Yeah.
yeah, I would have not purchased the PS5. And in fact, I disliked the PS5's design so much that I actually bought the slim version because I thought it was least ugly. It was still ugly, but it was a little less ugly. And I bought black plates for it and I put it in my highest shelf away from my eyesight so that I never have to look at it. And it's in black plates, so like I can't even see it in the corner of my eye. like it's totally hidden. It's like red-headed stepchild, put this cloak, stand in the corner, don't talk to anybody. That's how I treat my PS5. So
Damn.
I really don't like it. I hate it. I'm I'm probably gonna get rid of it soon because why? I'm not gonna. Monster Hunter is ass. So it's like, so I think I'm just gonna wait for the expansion and see what comes out and try that, and then I'll probably be done with that console. I can't. I see these guys' point where like aesthetic doesn't matter. I see that, but for me it does. Like I bought the PS Vita because I thought it was a sexy console. I was like, this looks great, and I bought it.
Mhm.
I have multiple 3DS systems.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because they're different designs. So
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. Aesthetics absolutely matter to me, but they don't affect the console experience, but they will affect how I kind of like treat them, how I display them, and whether or not I hold on to them. So
Oof, that's pretty
Gotcha.
deep. That's pretty deep. And the reason why I asked that is because I know that we all came from like a art background, so I figured like, does it, you know, a part of being artistic is pretty much having that eye and finding things visually appealing and or having the disdain for some things appeal. So that's why I asked like, well, does it hinder your experience wanting to play with the console? Like if there were two consoles sitting there, would you be more inclined to playing the other one because it's less ugly than its counterpart and so on and so forth? Um, but
that's how I felt about Sega Genesis. I always thought the Sega Genesis looked way cooler than the Super Nintendo, even though the Super Nintendo was superior in every way.
it
But
did, it
Sega
did.
Genesis was like the cool kids console, and the advertisement had a lot to do with that, right? But it
Yeah.
was also like the fact that the console was black, it was a
Mm-hmm.
little smaller, it had the rounded center, so it's something about it felt futuristic. The Super Nintendo just kind of felt like just an upgrade to the Nintendo, which is, but like it design wise, it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't tickle me at all. It was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I get what you're saying. And another thing too is what would have deterred me from the PS5 as well is the fact that I'm not really a fan of white consoles. Like I don't like having consoles that are white because they collect dust. They get that kind of grainy.
well, black consoles collect dust too. It's just more apparent on a white
You
console.
No,
can't see it.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like, you know, you
Yeah.
don't get that grime buildup where the white console or the grayish console is like turning kind of like yellow and whatnot. You don't really get that on a black console. And um, although you still should maintain your consoles and make sure that you dust them off or whatnot, you're less likely to do so with a black console because you don't really see the dust buildup as much as you do on a white console. So that was something that would have deterred me from the PS5. I do like, however, that they were trying to be cost friendly and allow you to change it up with the plates. Like I got the Spider-Man plates, so you know it's basically the PS5 with makeup on. You know, it looks a little attractive, but it's still, you know, ugly. You know, it looks tolerable to look at. But I like that.
PS5 BBL.
Yeah. So I like
That's funny. That's
I,
real funny.
so I like that aspect, but yeah, I can see why you guys are like, well, shit, it's ugly in every aspect. It's white, you know, it's bulky. I had to think about that. Yeah,
Treading thin ice here, my friend. What are you
I
saying?
had, you know, I mean, in terms of the console realm, you know,
Well, it's kind of like food, right? Like something can taste amazing but look unappealing, and
yes,
something
Porridge.
super appealing can taste poor. Like
Right.
true,
you could have like a slice of pizza that looks amazing, wow, it's great, and you eat it like, it's
yeah,
old dough,
yeah,
right? Like
Yep.
so, aesthetics do matter because if you have something that looks great and tastes great,
mm-hmm,
sold.
Aesthetics definitely matters in many aspects, and I'm not, for me, I'm not going to, like if you're a close friend of mine. If I go to your house and I ask you where your PS5 is and you say, oh, you got rid of it because you thought it was ugly, I'm just gonna shake my head and be like, okay, well, that's Kong. That's just who he is,
mm-hmm,
right? I'm move forward in life because like it's your living space, and you have to
That'd be
be
a
comfortable
weird.
in it.
That'd be a weird thing to be hung up on. I stopped talking
Right?
to him. He sold his
Yeah.
PS5 because he thought it was
It's
ugly.
because he thought it was ugly, right? Like that would be a weird,
You
right?
ended
That's what
a
I'm saying.
20
Like,
plus year relationship because of that? That's kind of weird. I think you're
right.
weird.
You know, and it does go back to where aesthetic is important. Like you used the food analogy. I think porridge looks like a bowl of a bowl of puke, but based on the type of porridge it is, it can taste really good.
That
Um,
shit tastes disgusting and look disgusting. It's both,
I
in my
think it
opinion.
looks, I think it looks disgusting, but there is porridge out there that tastes really good. Porridge. But then you have like, well, me personally, right? I don't think like say I don't want to call out the restaurant, but I'm not a fan of Chipotle restaurant. I think the food is pretty bad. It's but when you put a bowl when you go to Chipotle and you order your bowl and they put it all together, it's like, oh wow, this looks really good. This looks like a full meal. But then when you actually eat it, it's like, what the fuck is this? I could cook better than this. That's how I feel with Chipotle. Personally. There's the presence there where it looks good, but to me, it tastes really bad. Um, it tastes pretty bad. But when it comes down for me, when it comes down to like electronics and stuff, it's I think I'm just more I'm easier to adjust with it. Like when I there's an iPhone that I had one version of the iPhone which was like glass in the front and glass in the back. I don't know why they would do that design. I thought it was a pretty ridiculous design. But after me actually purchasing the phone and started using it, I completely forgot that the phone was made of glass. I just cared about the memory and if it's functioning and working for me. Um, but I feel like if I feel like aesthetic is very important in any aspect, whether it's electronic, food, art, music, dance, whatever. Aesthetics is extremely important in life. But for me, when it comes to electronics, it's on the lower scale
No,
of it.
that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. Like to me, I would equate aesthetics to being a resume, and the experience to being an interview, right? So, like for example, prior to the internet being as prominent as it is now, I used to pick my games based upon the aesthetics, the aesthetic of the box. Like, what does the box art look like? What does the back entails? Like, the still images. Does it look like the art style looks amazing? The story that they're telling. Like, what is this game going to be about? And that's what usually would drive me towards my purchase. Like, back when I was a kid, the very first Mega Man cartridge with the I mean, now the art is shitty, but the art was different back then. It was like, oh, this guy in blue and yellow, and he's kind of like got he's missing an arm, and he's like a certain pose, and all the people behind him and shit like that. That looked like really intriguing to me. So I told my parents, and I was like, I want that, or whatever.
He
Um,
told his parents.
well, I mean,
He was raised differently.
what you mean I
He
was raised?
told you told your parents.
Yeah, I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
told I told them I
I'm
want
just
that. I'm not
done.
I'm not saying that they like they just was like, oh, I'm gonna give it to you right away, because we weren't built like that. Um, but eventually, my brother, because he's significantly older than me, he ended up getting it. I ended up playing it or whatever. Um, there used to be a rental place right around the corner from where I live, so that's where he got it from. So that's how the game
Mm,
magically just vanished from thin air, because you have to send those back. What a concept, right, guys? Like borrowing games and videos and sending them back. Pretty sure this generation don't know about that now.
mm-mm.
But I just pretty much say that to say, like, the art is what led me to wanting to experience the game. And it just so happened that the interview, which was playing the game, it was like, oh, this checks out. I really enjoy it. So um, that's what I equated to the aesthetics and being the resume, and like the experience being the interview. Whether you eat something, whether you play something, whatever you're experiencing, that to me, that's like the interview. So yeah.
Okay.
Remember, guys, golden opportunity. Oh, I went. Golden Opportunity Sales Event, Lexus. Make your
Well,
down payment now.
well, we are actually over time, Kong.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. I thought he was going to spin again. Um,
Nah, he's just naming our sponsors real quick.
I wish.
Well, on that note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is our episode for tonight. Another hot takes episode. Once again, as always, let us know what you think. Let us know if you agree with our hot takes, disagree, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Um, we'll keep the hot takes as a topic, and we'll rotate it around. So they'll be here. So if you like this kind of stuff, you're going to see more of it. So yeah, all the stuff, like, comment, subscribe. Um, if you like what we have social media. Make sure to check that out. If you are a stream enjoyer, Mr. Esoteric is our resident streamer. He streams on the Logical Gamers channel. He's streaming on YouTube and Twitch, so he's a dual streamer. Streams Mondays and Fridays with impromptu streams thrown in. So make sure to follow him on Twitch or YouTube or both, depending on what you like, so you can always know what he's streaming. Streams a variety of stuff from games of yesteryear to current AAA masterpieces that we have now. So if it's a there, he'll probably stream it. And if it's a multiplayer game like Call of Duty, and he always welcomes people from the stream to join him in his lobbies and play together. So if that's your thing and he's doing a COD stream, hop in, be able to join. Anyway, that's it. I said it like 3 times, but again, thank you for watching as always. You could be doing a lot of stuff, but you chose to watch our a little podcast, and I appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you once again, and I will see you all in the next episode.